friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie 0491. Chat in that neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, we're about to check out a video on a topic that we have never watched over here on our channel, y'all. And that video is coming from none other than Kyle from Dire Trip. Back to Dire Trip, y'all, and check the title of this video out. They gave their victims HIV/AIDS on purpose. Now, long story short, short story long, real quick, y'all. I remember like in my teenage years, I was probably like 17, 18, maybe 19, when I was hearing about a real story that was happening in my city. It happened in my city. Well, long story short, short story long, there was a man who was going to a college, a local college, and he was having sex with a lot of different women, and come to find out he was just giving them AIDS. He was spreading AIDS to as many of them as he can, and that actually happened in my city, man. And I've seen like headlines of this before, you know what I'm saying? It's not my first time hearing about this, but I never delved into it. I never really like got full stories on it, so I'm just ready to get into it with Dire Trip because I'm pretty sure this is gonna be crazy as elf. And the one thing I can say before we even get into it, my brothers and sisters, anybody who have freaking AIDS or HIV, whatever, tomato, knowingly, and you having sex with people just to give them your freaking disease, whatever, AIDS, you need to go to jail for the rest of your life. Like, you need life in prison. That is attempted murder. And if that said person that you had sex with actually dies from this AIDS that you gave to them, then it is freaking murder. It's really no different than freaking shooting somebody in the head, my brothers and sisters. One of them may be more graphic than the other, depending on who you ask, but it's still freaking murder. But I digress. Let me stop before I go on a whole tangent before we even get into the video. But before we actually get into the video is another thing that I need y'all to do, being team. Get whatever you may need. Get what you need, please. We back to Kyle from Dire Trip. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
We heard all sorts of urban legends all the time during our childhoods. Sometimes those legends aren't exactly true to a T, but they're very much based in reality. Sometimes, such as in the instance of today's topic, it happens a lot more often than you might think.
Get whatever you may need.
Here's an urban legend that spread like wildfire in the 1990s and early 2000s, one that took chain letters and the early days of the internet by storm. It was a topic that many people were already pretty concerned with. Being a while into the AIDS epidemic and fresh out of what was probably the biggest portion of the panic, people began to wonder, what if there are people out there who have AIDS, know they have AIDS, and are intentionally using that to infect others?
Good question.
Well, that's when this story came about. Here's word for word how the story was usually spread. Quote, "A guy's friends throw him a 21st birthday party. They get him drunk and then a hotel room and a prostitute for his present. In the morning, when this guy wakes up, the prostitute is gone. When he goes to the bathroom, written on the mirror with lipstick is, 'Welcome to the world of AIDS.'"
That's a terrible freaking story. Oh my God. Can you imagine waking up and walking in the bathroom and seeing that? I'm not going to even say what I do. I was finna say some stuff that would... I have to go find that person. Now, yeah, I leave the rest up to y'all imagination, but that person who just gave me AIDS, I need to see them.
While there is no proof out there that a crime took place in that exact same manner, especially the writing on the bathroom wall, there are a lot out there that are eerily similar, even some where the criminals will convey the message in, while it's not quite on writing on a bathroom mirror, very similar ways. When searching for the details of the crime, the first case to pop up is one with this headline: Tennessee woman gets 26 years for exposing sex partners to HIV. The article, which is actually on a medical website, reads exactly as this. AIDS, name removed. A Tennessee woman who claims she had as many as 50 one-night stands in response to contracting HIV from her boyfriend was sentenced to 26 years in prison. She pleaded guilty to 22 counts of knowingly and without consent exposing her partners to HIV through unprotected sex. This is a Class C felony. However, at her sentencing, name removed, changed her story. She then claimed to have sex with only 18 men and denied exposing them intentionally, saying that she had warned each of them that she was HIV positive.
That's a goddamn lie. Well, I don't know, y'all. Hey, this reaction video may be a little X-rated, so hide the children, man, because we finna talk about some stuff. All I'm gonna say for now is, at first I'm like, she said she changed her story first of all, but she changed it to she had sex with 18 men, right? Only 18 men, only. But she claimed that they knew she had fucking AIDS. Are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck would have sex with you and they know you got fucking AIDS? But let's hold on for a second, my brothers and sisters. I promise y'all, and I know this may sound crazy, and I know some of y'all know what I'm saying. Most of y'all women probably know what I'm saying. My sisters probably know what I'm saying. It's some men out here that'll fuck anything. Let's just go keep it real. Let's just keep it real, man. It's some men out here that will have sex with a woman, especially if they want it bad enough. If she look good enough and they want it, they will have sex with her knowing that she got AIDS. Now, I'm not saying this will happen, especially the 18 men, but I'm just saying there is men who will fuck any goddamn thing with a hole. I'm just gonna go on put it out there, my brothers and sisters. And I told y'all this one's gonna be X-rated. So don't, hey, y'all know what it is now. Let's go. But I'm not, at the same time though, all that said, not even being funny or nothing, being for real, I'm not saying I believe her story. She already changing it over and over again, so I don't even believe that. But let's go.
5 of the 7 men named in her indictment denied that they had been informed of name-removed HIV status. The case began when one of the men tested positive for HIV. While it is true that the perpetrator's name is redacted in this article, that isn't true across the board. Searching for these specific details brings us to the first subject of today's video, and that first subject would take us down a rabbit hole that would lead to many more.
Let's go.
Pamela Weiser. In the 1990s, Pamela Weiser had gotten divorced and decided to find herself a new boyfriend. In doing so, she ended up getting herself a guy who was HIV positive and contracted the virus herself. She wanted to get revenge. Not necessarily only on her ex-boyfriend, but on all men and society in general, hoping to spread the virus to as many people as possible, causing a snowball effect that would surely go out of control.
And that's one thing I gotta say real quick too, y'all, and I'm pretty sure this gonna be like a recurring theme as we watch this video from Kyle, is that a lot of these people who get AIDS, they ain't get it on purpose. Well, we know nobody get AIDS on purpose, but what I'm saying is they get with a partner, like a real boyfriend. They be in a relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and unknowingly they freaking get AIDS from them, and now they out for freaking revenge. Now since I got it, I want to infect as many men or women that I can with it. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy, but I'm pretty sure that's one thing we're going to continue to hear, just like in this story. Let's go.
Pamela started going out to bars in rural communities and meeting as many men as she could, easily scoring one-night stands with a large portion of them. It's believed that she slept with as many as 50 men in this matter, possibly even more, to the point where she didn't even remember the names of all of them. Some people around town somehow came to find out what she was up to, such as the worker of a local economy inn lodge in Lewisburg. Pam came in about once a week over a period of several months, each time with a different man, always having the men pay for her. The hotel worker said, "We knew she had HIV and even warned people who were in the hotel. Don't get a hold of her, she's dangerous. I am terribly hurt that anything like this would happen in this town, because it's a church-going town. Eventually, some of these men started finding out that they were infected themselves. It wasn't too long before Pamela was being investigated, as people in town were talking about her little revenge plot. She was arrested and taken into custody. At first, she downplayed the situation, saying that she had actually slept with very few men and they all knew of her condition and didn't care. Finding this very unbelievable, the police would press her for the real story. Although her story would change at least 5 times throughout the legal process, she would finally admit to wrongdoing, saying from the Marshall County Jail, "I was just getting revenge for what he did to me. I feel I've gotten my revenge." She was charged with 2 counts of criminal exposure to HIV, a law that was relatively new and was being investigated for many more. Since 1994, a state law had made it a felony to knowingly expose another person to HIV, even if they actually didn't contract the virus. After the department started to urge local men to get tested, they got a whopping 80 calls from concerned men within the first 24 hours. The police said, "We don't know who they are. Some we have first name, some we have no names." During the trial, 5 of the 7 men who chose to testify against her had said that she didn't inform them of her condition when they did the deed. 1 of the 7 men had since tested positive for HIV. After a long trial, Pamela went on to plead guilty to 72 counts of knowingly exposing these men to HIV. She did her best to apologize to the men and by proxy even more people, saying that she had infected them with the virus. "I didn't know what I was thinking. I had a lot on my mind," she said.
Really? That's your explanation? You had a lot on your mind, you don't know what you were thinking? Really?
Pamela was sentenced to 26.5 years in prison for what she had done, but she was far from the only person out there doing these things.
This shit just crazy, y'all. And I think another thing that's a recurring theme that I don't really like or agree with, but whatever, man. I don't think none of these people gonna actually get like life in prison for this, y'all. I feel like these people should be locked up for the rest of their life, man. This is like poisoning somebody, my brothers and sisters. Seriously, man. That's just like a husband or a wife poisoning their husband or wife by pouring something in their drink or putting something in their food, then they die. This is the same thing, except you putting some in somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? You're putting some of you in somewhere else, and then you infecting them with the same stuff that's gonna potentially kill you one day, and now it's gonna kill them. That's the same damn thing, my brothers and sisters. So I'm like, this 20, I think both of them got 26 years, 20 some years. Man, listen, man. Long story short, story long. I feel like they should get longer, man. I feel like they should get longer for this.
Daryl Bossman McGee. While Pamela's case may have involved a lot of malice, plenty of other cases out there involve nothing but apathy, which one might argue might be even worse. Knowing that they had the disease and without any intention of giving it to other people, they just simply didn't care if they did and continued sleeping with others regardless. Well, that's where this individual comes in. Daryl McGee, who ended up with the moniker Boss Man despite his haggard appearance, somehow had a way with women. Well, not specifically only women, but also girls. Over a period of 2 years since finding out that he had HIV, he knowingly slept with at the very least 61 women and girls, all ranging in age from 22 to as young as 12.
Oh my God. Oh my Jesus. Oh my God, man. He need to see now. If anybody should go to fucking prison, my brothers and sisters, he should go to prison. He having sex with underage girls. His ass need to be in prison. Let's take away the whole HIV part and let's just focus on that. He need to be in prison, man. I hate though, man. Let's go, y'all.
Knew where to pick up girls, younger girls in particular. He would often hang out at the skating rink or near the local middle school, smiling and waving at any girls who would walk by. His antics were pretty well known around the area of East St. Louis where he lived. Little did they know, this familiar, smiling, and waving man wasn't only a murderer, he was potentially a mass murderer. Daryl had an eye for finding girls who were more insecure and alone than their peers. He would prey on them by giving them small gifts and telling them how pretty they were, much prettier than the girls around them. When he won them over by being the only man in their life to treat them that well, he would take them away and have his way with them. Over a period of only a few years, he made his way with well over 60 girls this way. One after one, these girls were lured into his trap, used, and dumped. But of course, even worse than that, many of them soon came to find that they were diagnosed with HIV. As hard as it is to believe, it got even worse. Many of them were actually pregnant as well, with at least one of them giving birth to an HIV-positive baby. Well, the law would never have a chance to figure out the true scope of what Daryl had done. One day, while Daryl was driving around with one of his new victims on the streets of St. Louis, a man nearby waved at him to stop his car. Once he did, sensing something was up, the potential young victim left the car and fled. That was when the mystery man came up to Daryl's driver's side window, pulled up a .45, and shot him in the torso at point-blank range. The police had no suspects, but they assumed it was likely a revenge murder. With as many victims as he had, and all of the people potentially connected to those victims, they had an ocean of possible grudges against him to deal with.
Yeah, he probably got murdered by some. It was a revenge murder, man. That whoever murdered him, I'm not saying it was the actual victim. It could have been the victim freaking brother, older brother. Not even just older brother. Could have been his sister. Could have been his mama. Couldn't have been her daddy. Whatever. You know what I'm saying, man? Could have been a friend. Whoever, man. Like, and especially how he was doing it, little kids and all that. It could have been a freaking father that know that you done had sex with my little 14-year-old child, and on top of that, you got AIDS. Like, dude, that shit'll make you do something, my brothers and sisters. And this is the moment where we gonna go into a little sexual education right now. We going to sex ed. How many of y'all had sex ed when you was in school, man? Because this is what I'm thinking about right now, y'all, by watching this video. And it's just so funny because I remember that sex ed, the first time I ever had sexual education in school, I probably was in maybe like the 7th or 8th grade. You know what I'm saying, man? But by that time, I already knew about goddamn having sex and pornos and stuff. I already had been watching pornos with one of my friends. Shout out to Lil Darius. You know what I'm saying? He had the DVDs. Cause back then when I was little, wasn't no internet. Internet wasn't popping off like that, especially as a child, man. Ain't nobody had no internet for real. This back in the era where we talking about, we had flip phones and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we used to be watching the freaking pornos and stuff. But the thing that I want to say, my brothers and sisters, long story short, story long, if you don't want to get freaking AIDS, the best thing that you could do is just wrap it up. Wrap it up. And that's why I talked about the whole sex ed thing, because it was funny to me. But the one thing that they always preached and talked about is wrapping it up. And that will prevent you from getting AIDS. Even from somebody who got AIDS, that would highly prevent it, y'all. Like, I know a lot of people may think that AIDS is easy to get, and yes, it's easy to get with unprotected sex. It is easy, but you could actually have unprotected sex with a person who is infected with AIDS a couple of times and still don't get it. Like, you got to like really be getting it in, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe sometime it may happen, you know, at the first time that you have sex with somebody. I'm not saying that don't happen either, but what I'm saying is, y'all, long story short, short story long, tell your man to wrap it up. If you the man, if you the brother, then wrap it up, my brother. If you the sister, then tell the brother to goddamn wrap it up. I'm just saying, man, for real talk, y'all, that would stop a lot of this. And I feel a lot of these people in these cases, they was having unprotected sex like a mother, just like that guy right there. And that's why he was even getting people pregnant. Freaking crazy. Let's go. I know that was a long tangent, but we had to go to sex ed. We had to go to sex ed class real quick, y'all. Let's get it.
Nashawn Williams. Nashawn Williams is a man who is often compared with Daryl McGee for very understandable reasons. While we don't know a lot about Daryl's early life, we do know quite a bit about Nashawn's upbringing. Nashawn was born in Brooklyn and had led a life of crime since his early childhood. His mother was a drug addict, giving him experience with all sorts of substances early on. He would often rob the elderly, sometimes scoring some pills in the process, and would deal them himself. He had multiple convictions for different street crimes under different aliases by the time he was in his late teens. Nashawn soon grew into a fledgling crack dealer, often bragging of his gang-related activities to anyone who would listen. Not only that, but he was violent with women, something that was very well known and still managed to get more girls regardless. It was said that his confident demeanor would often win in girls of, quote, all races and socioeconomic classes, although it was noted that most of the girls he hooked up with had some sorts of problems with drugs, money, or mental health. Much like Daryl, many women have stated that it was Nishan's ability to make them feel special and loved that won them over, even while his violent personality was well known and sometimes even shown to them outright. Not only that, he was persistent, pushing for a relationship with one of his 13-year-old victims over a period of months. In 1996, Nishan was diagnosed with HIV. He later claimed that he simply didn't believe the health officials who told him this, but it seems more likely that he just didn't care, as he never bothered to get any sort of follow-up despite such a grave diagnosis. He continued his life as normal, being arrested on various other charges along the way. In Chautauqua County, it was soon found that he was the primary cause behind what they called an HIV microepidemic. When the police closed in on him, he was eventually charged with 2 counts of statutory and 1 count of reckless endangerment due to both having HIV and hooking up with underage girls. He received a 4 to 12-year sentence for these charges. Shortly after, it was found that 2 of his sons were born infected with HIV. Not only that, the women who fathered these kids went on to get new relationships shortly after, unknowingly giving the virus to their new boyfriends as well. And
that's another fucked up thing. The fact that you giving them the freaking AIDS and shit, and you not even letting them know. So now after they break up with you, or y'all break up with whatever, now they going have a new relationship with new partners, and they infecting them. Like, it is so this is just disgustingly nasty to do to people. Like, this some evil ish too, y'all. Like, this right up there on the scale, y'all. Freaking parent murderers, freaking people who give you AIDS. Like, it's all the same to me, y'all. It's just freaking terrible. Freaking people who freaking shoot you in the head and leave you for dead, kidnap you, throw you away, cut you up. All that stuff is just freaking terrible.
Some of these women even continued to sleep with different men after their diagnosis was known. An additional 10 women he slept with were found to be positive. It can't be known exactly how many victims out there that there were, or how many spread the disease to each other afterwards. In April of 2010, it came time for Nishan's 12-year prison sentence to end. However, a New York Attorney General blocked his release, opting instead to keep him confined under a new statute aimed at sex offenders. While his lawyers continued to argue that he was the victim of a false positive test initially, it didn't matter. As of the making of this video, he remains confined.
Good.
Sarah Jane Porter. Sarah Jane Porter was a 43-year-old woman in the UK who contracted HIV in the 1990s. Given that she contracted the disease from the only black man she had ever slept with, she became outraged and set her sights on getting revenge against all of the black men that she could. Being the receptionist at a hair salon, she was able to meet all sorts of men easily in her day-to-day life. Either meeting men through work or at nightclubs, she eventually had an untold number of one-night stands with men from all over the country. With one man, she even entered into a relationship with him for a whole 2 years, keeping her condition a secret from him the entire time. At least 3 other men at the time were known to have slept with her conclusively. Sarah's boyfriend, feeling ill, eventually came to find that he had contracted the disease and tested positive. Given that
That's some low down ass shit, y'all. Can you imagine being with somebody, especially 2 years, and they know they got freaking AIDS and they never told you? Now, I preached all that stuff about wrapping it up. And yes, wrap it up. But what I'm really saying is when you're messing with somebody who you don't know for real, or you're not trying to have kids, and that's y'all form of birth control. But if you've been with somebody and maybe the lady, she got another form of birth control like by taking pills or whatever the stuff is. You know what I'm saying? Getting the shot, whatever it is, that form of birth control. You with this person, this is your boyfriend, this is your girlfriend. Yes, you're going to have unprotected sex. Because we all can admit, my brothers and sisters, let's just go and keep it real on this real quick. Sex is way better without it wrapped up. Whether you the man or you the woman, whether you the brother or you the sister, sex is way better when it's uncut, when it's unwrapped. You know what I'm saying, man? So yes, if you in a relationship with somebody, you gon' do that. That's what you should do, that because you trust in this person. That's why you in a relationship with them. And then kind of find out they got AIDS. Dude, I'll have to see that person. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Like, man, I ain't being funny, y'all. Like that, man. I don't even want to get into that. We ain't gonna even let that out. Let's go.
Sarah had been the only woman he had slept with. He felt it couldn't have been anyone else. Sarah at first attempted to gaslight the man into thinking that the opposite had happened, telling him that he must have given the disease to her. At first, he attempted to take his own life. This was when he ran into an ex of hers, an ex who had also come to find that he was HIV positive. This was when the pieces fell together. He described her as pure evil, saying, "Her cruelty and dishonesty made me feel so worthless." The 3 other men who were known to have slept with her came forward, each getting tested and luckily coming to find out that they were negative. This was only the tip of the iceberg, though. The police launched an investigation against Sarah, going back to her apartment and getting all manner of evidence as to her communications, finding out about what relationships they could. While being interviewed by the police, Sarah refused to answer any questions at all about her dating history. She refused to help any of the men who may have been infected by her. The police were forced to try and trace her steps nationwide in order to find anyone she may have been with. Her boyfriend was a DJ, and she attended many of his music-related events and festivals over the years. The amount of possible victims was staggering. It was actually her own friends that came forward to say that she had a vendetta against black men because she felt that they were responsible for her disease. Sarah was arrested. In court, she broke down crying, saying that she felt bad about what she had done to her partner. Psychologists made the claim that she was in denial about having the disease and what significance it carried, but this contradicted her previous claims of wanting revenge. Sarah's case was the first of a woman in the UK being charged and jailed for willingly passing the virus on. The judge said, "Your victim was devastated that a person whom he loved and respected, you, had lied to him time and time again by your words and actions. A custodial sentence is quite inevitable, and the court sees no grounds whatsoever that the sentence should be suspended." She was sentenced to 32 months in prison, of which she only served about half. It was only after the sentencing that it was revealed that she was possibly connected to over 1,000 men during the time period she was spreading the disease. Detectives said, "She has completely ruined their lives. She has put some of them through an incomprehensible experience. Porter has never answered one question despite our appeals to her. That is callous. I gave her opportunities and interviews to help us help other people. They were very articulate, professional, decent men who were trying to do their best in life." It turns out Sarah had a young son who was left to see the monster that his mother had become.
That's all she got, y'all, was a couple of months in prison. What she got? Like 32 months? Like, dude, what the hell? And I told y'all, man, I felt like that's going to be a recurrence in this video where people not really getting life in prison like I feel like they should. And she most definitely should. Like, she is a prime example of a freaking murderer. And at least at that point, an attempted murderer to multiple people. Multiple men. It's just, man, god damn. And then another thing that I'm hating, that's another reoccurring thing that's going on in this video we watching, is how, and it's just this case, she got a vendetta against black men. But it's not just her in this case against black men. It's just in the other cases with the women feeling like, since this man did this to me, now I gotta do it to all men. Like, dude, I'm not the freaking one who did it to you. You know what I'm saying? Why you taking it out on me? It's just like, why are you taking it out on me because this person did this to you? And that's another reoccurring thing that we keep hearing, y'all. It's just, it's crazy, man. Dial Truck, right. I haven't heard a lot of these stories, man. I haven't heard of any of these stories, and I guess he right. What I'm really trying to say is he seemed like he right as far as like it happens more than we really realize that this stuff happens. Let's go.
Daryl Rowe. Now, this is a story that I've held back because I feel that it has the most similarities to the original urban legend, and in a bid to remain spoiler-free, we'll get exactly as to why in just a few moments. Daryl Rowe, a 26-year-old man, was a British hairdresser. He was originally from Edinburgh, Scotland, where he was diagnosed with HIV in April of 2015. It was after that he moved to Brighton in England. There he met 8 men over the Grindr app and slept with them, knowingly having the disease. Afterwards, he moved to northeast England and met 2 more men in the same way. It was here that his escapades most closely came to resemble the original urban legends years after the fact, as Daryl came to taunt his victims with eerily similar messages. While he didn't go through with writing the message out on a bathroom mirror, he used modern technology to his advantage and merely texted them. He took pleasure in toying with them after the fact, leaving messages such as, "I have HIV, lol, whoops," before blocking them. To another, he said, "Maybe you have the fever 'cause I came inside you and I have HIV, lol, whoops." This man called him back, and Daryl simply laughed at him over the phone and made fun of him even further. This victim then later tested positive for HIV. With other men, he...
Can you imagine some shit like that? You having sex with somebody, let's just say it's a one-night stand, my brothers and sisters. And then the next day, they text you and say, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I got AIDS. Whoops." Oh my freaking God. This man here taking the cake, the icing, and the cherry on top.
He did use protection, but he maliciously cut the ends off of the rubber to completely defeat the purpose. The police were notified, given that this act was clearly malicious. It was then that they came to fully believe that this was a calculated plan to spread the disease as much as he could. Afterwards, yet another man came forward after being diagnosed. The police said, with full knowledge, putting others at risk, he embarked on what was a cynical and deliberate campaign to infect other men with the HIV virus. Unfortunately, for some of the men he met, his campaign was successful. At least 4 have contracted the virus. Others were lucky not to. In all cases, it was his intention to infect those men with HIV. The police were able to find and arrest Daryl in February of 2016. He refused to admit being HIV positive and denied meeting with the infected men. He was bailed out of jail and fled back home. When more victims came forward, he was brought back into custody once again, but once more he was bailed. This time he went missing and the police had to launch a manhunt to even find him. After not too long, he was found living in Wallsend under a pseudonym. In his trial, Daryl expressed that he felt that he had cured himself of HIV by taking homeopathic remedies and drinking his own urine as a treatment. But given his text messages, it appears that he was well aware he wasn't cured. In court, Daryl was told by one of the 10 known victims by this point, "I would rather he had murdered me than left me to live my life like this." Another victim said, "As long as he has strength in his body, he will be a risk. He is a menace to society. He is a sociopath because I don't think he has any regard for other people's feelings." A third victim told the courts of how he had attempted to end his own life after hearing the news. He said, "A part of me died that day when I was diagnosed. The old me is no longer. The new me is constantly sad, thinking about how my life changed. I have been devastated by Roe's actions, but I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else." The judge said that Daryl would be the first person to be sentenced for grievous bodily harm under these circumstances. After a 6-week trial, he was sentenced to life in prison. At a bare minimum, he was told that he would have to serve at least 12 years of that sentence.
Wow. We got one, my brothers and sisters, one life sentence, even though at the bare minimum is only 12, but at least we got that much, man. Wow. And he definitely deserved it, but I feel like a lot of these other people deserve it too.
Brandy Yakema Lassiter. Lastly, I have one more honorable mention from recent years that proves that the fear that something like this might happen is very much alive and well. This is after a video was uploaded to Facebook in August of 2019 that would very soon go viral. In this video uploaded to social media, a woman named Brandy Yakema Lassiter went on an unhinged rant about being HIV positive, listing off a bunch of names of men that she claims to have willingly spread the disease to. The video quickly racked up views, and the police soon received numerous tips about its content. One of the men listed in the video even filed a complaint against her, citing harassing communications. In the video, Brandy is seen saying, "Motherfuckers play with me. I told ya, I'm an evil motherfucker. I'm evil as hell. I get real nasty and evil." Yeah. The police decided it was time to head out and arrest her as she had just admitted to a serious crime. Under Georgia law, where the case took place, it is illegal to knowingly even attempt to spread HIV. It's a felony that punishes with up to 20 years in prison. In the rant, not only did Brandy list the names of the men she claims to have slept with, but also their wives and girlfriends too, implicating herself in as many crimes as possible. She said that she wanted to see these people suffer, ending with, "I always get the last laugh. I'm going to watch y'all die." While the video was removed on Facebook, it had already been shared on various other platforms. Needless to say, people in the area began to panic. Brandy was arrested and taken into custody, looking at some serious charges. In questioning, her story came to appear suspicious, almost unbelievable. They administered her with an HIV test, and she was found to be negative after all. She told them she was simply mad at the people in the video. In the end, Brandy was charged with a misdemeanor count of harassing communications. While she was bailed out of jail that same day, she's looking at up to a year in prison if this case proceeds.
What the fuck, my brothers and sisters? This lady sitting up here lying about having AIDS and infecting people just to start some shit up on social media. Wow, I'm really believing her. And come to find out she full of shit. Wow.
So, long story short, while the original urban legend may not have been true down to the most minute details, cases eerily similar have happened on numerous occasions. It's something that is still a definite risk, so all of you out there be very careful with who you decide to take into the bone zone.
True.
Once again, everyone, thank you for watching my videos. If you found it interesting, please give it a like as it helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Just recently, I've started...
Go to my boy Dial Trip, man, and hit that subscribe button, my brothers and sisters, if you ain't did it yet. Because this was a great video, and like I said, we never covered a topic on freaking having sex with people and giving them AIDS before. You know what I'm saying? We never watched nothing like this over here on our channel. But it's still in the same realm of things because it is true crime horror, what the is going on type of video. Because I just feel like all these people, man, should be going to prison for the rest of their life. I know, to me, I mean, to some of y'all out there, I may sound a little harsh, but that's just how I feel about freaking murderers, man, or people who knowingly and intently are trying to freaking murder people, man. And some of these people was letting you know, the dude who was texting, whoops, I forgot to tell you I got AIDS. Like, what the freak, man? It is so crazy, y'all. And the people, a lot of these people, they mad at the person who gave them AIDS, so now they feel like they gotta go give AIDS to other people. That's their revenge. Like, they taking their anger out on other people. It's just terrible. And this AIDS thing, man, back in the 90s, y'all, in its early stages before people really knew what the freak it was, man, it was way crazier back then. People really thought like as soon as you get AIDS, maybe in the next week or two, you dead. Like, we really didn't know what the freak was going on. I was a little child, but I have done my research on AIDS and stuff just to get a better understanding on all the sexual transmitted diseases and stuff. And there's some crazy stuff out here, my brothers and sisters. And what this video is showing us, or at least reminding us of, is that there are some crazy motherfuckers who will try to give you that crazy stuff, my brothers and sisters. They will literally try to have sex with you just to transmit they freaking nasty ass disease to you. Crazy, man, crazy. But I digress. I'm gonna let y'all go now. This was definitely, most definitely a wild one from our boy Kyle from Dial Trip. Before y'all leave, y'all just please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't did that yet. And come on back tomorrow for another Coffee Man Friday. But until then, my friends, y'all also got to remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.